point deductions for drivers, and deduction in championship owner points for the owners. But now in the chase, okay, a lug nut this is pretty stiff. Now they're in the chase. A lug nut violation will result in a P4 penalty. Now, also, laser inspection, failing post-race laser inspection will also result in a P4 penalty. And here it is. This is where it gets gritty. For the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, the first violation, okay, gets a, quote, encumbered finishing position, whatever that means. But get this, here's the big stuff. First violation will also result in a 35 driver points deduction and a 35-point owner points deduction. 35 for the driver points and owner points. But wait, in addition to that, a 3-race suspension and $65,000 fine for the crew chief. Now, that is on the first offense. Now, as for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, the penalties are the same except for the fine, which will only be $20,000. Now, I don't know what's going on with the trucks because they didn't say anything about, they didn't disclose any fines or anything for the trucks. But the laser inspection is not part of the inspection process in the Camping World Truck Series. So, however, they will be looking for the lug nuts. So, they're probably going to have some kind of, repercussion for that. But during the regular season, 6 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series drivers and teams have been penalized for failing laser inspection. Casey Kane, Matt Kenseth, Bart Keselowski, Kyle Larson, and Ryan Newman. And Martin Truex Jr. In fact, the number 5, Hendricks Motorsports Chevrolet at Dover, that would be Casey Kane. The number 20, Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota at New Hampshire, that would be Matt Kenseth. 42, Chip Ganassi Racing Chevrolet at Darlington, that would be for Kyle Larson. The 31, driven by Ryan Newman. The 31, Richard Childress Racing Chevrolet, also at Darlington. And, of course, 78, the Furniture Road Racing Toyota at Richmond. And if you're ever around during the day and have nothing to do and you get onto NASCAR.com, they actually show videos of the now the post-race inspection, that's after the race, and then the cars, they call their 5 cars and they bring them down to the R&D center for a more thorough investigation. So the laser inspection, it's kind of like these metal brackets. You can see it, they put on top of the car. It's measuring to make sure that the width and the length of the car hasn't been tampered with, because there's rules and regulations on how wide and how high and everything. So, if a car gets banged up a little bit and they bring it into the pit box and they try to stretch the sheet metal out, they got to make sure that they're within that. So they just want to make sure that, maybe you try to pull something that they didn't catch during the race. That's why they're looking for stuff after the race, just to make sure they don't catch, you haven't done anything, that NASCAR deems to be inappropriate. And now after that, then the 5 cars come down to the R&D center, and that's when they're looking for all the other stuff. That's why, and usually by Wednesday or Thursday is when the news breaks of who got all the post-race penalties. But for racing fans, here's this week's power rankings. So that's NASCAR. Usually it's a list of 20, but this week it's a list of 16, and it's the Chasers. Now, this isn't their spot on the chase. This is their power rankings, and here we go. First place is Denny Hamlin. Second is going to be Bart Keselowski. Third is Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson in 4th, Martin Truex Jr. in 5th, Kyle Larson in 6th, Joey Logano in 7th place, 8th place is Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch in 9th place, 10th place Matt Kenseth, Chase Elliott in 11th, 12th place would be Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson in 13th, Jamie McMurray in 14th, 15th is Austin Dillon, and Chris Buescher in 16th. All right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment y'all been waiting for, the schedule for this upcoming weekend. NASCAR heading to the Windy City, Chicagoland Speedway, 500 Speedway Boulevard in Joliet, Illinois, 604 .233, 1.5 miles of asphalt, 4 turns. Bankings at the corners is 18 degrees. The front stretch is 11 degrees, and the back stretch is 5. IndyCar heads to Sonoma Raceway, formerly known as Sears Point Raceway, but the IndyCar course at Sonoma is 2.22 miles asphalt with 11 turns. And as mentioned earlier, Formula One is heading to Singapore. And now, racing fans, Motorsports Radio presents the official racing schedule. And we got some good stuff for Motorsports Radio coming up next year, but we'll tell you that a little bit later on. So, okay, first, as always, we're going to start with NASCAR. It's the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Trucks return on Friday night, the last truck race before the start of the chase, and that's going to be Friday evening at 8:30 Eastern Time on FS1 and MRN for the American Ethanol E15 225, and that's going to be with 150 laps on deck. And then Saturday afternoon is the final NASCAR Xfinity Series race of the regular season. Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC and MRN for the Drive for Safety 300 with 200 laps on deck. And then it begins, the chase for the Cup on the chase for the Sprint Cup, as they call it officially, on Sunday afternoon. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing 2:30 Eastern Time for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 400 with 267 laps on deck, and that's going to be on NBCSN and on MRN Radio. And as mentioned, IndyCar heading to Sonoma for the final IndyCar race of 2016, Sunday evening at 6:30 Eastern Time on NBCSN, and that's going to be the GoPro Grand Prix of Sonoma. And Formula One Sunday morning at 7:30 Eastern Time on NBCSN as well, and that's going to be the 2016 Formula One Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix. The Singapore Airlines Singapore Grand Prix. Say that 10 times fast. That's going to be with 61 laps on tap. And the Singapore circuit has 23 turns. Circuit length is 5.065 kilometers. Race distance is 308.828 kilometers. And the lap record was set in 2015 by Daniele Ricciardo. 1 minute 50.41 seconds. 50.041 seconds. And that's going to do it for today. Hey, thank you for tuning in, racing fans, and making Motorsports Radio your go-to source for motorsports info. This is Manny Allegretta. So we're going to have our own webpage because we're trying to get Motorsports Radio nationwide. CommunityRadio.com is kind of like Long Island, so if I wanted to go down south and I can't hang out posters for CommunityRadio.com. But we're going to have a separate page for Motorsports Radio. It's actually going to be motorsportsradio.net. And we're going to put all our Motorsports Radio stuff on there. Probably throw some videos up on there. We're going to make flyers and start mixing and mingling out there, hitting the pavement. It's going to be the Motorsports Radio Poster Derby. There's a Poster Derby coming for Community Radio, too. Because it's time to go hit the pavement. I've built Facebook and Twitter for as long as I could without getting frustrated. And I said, it's time to get out there and hand out some flyers and get this thing going for real. So it's going to be in 2017, but there'll still be the Motorsports Radio button on Community Radio will bring you to the new page. So it's kind of running. There's not a lot of stuff on there, but the address actually works, but there's nothing on there just yet. So don't go there yet until 2017. Okay. So we'll let you know about that. Then we can hang out at some of the tracks. Go watch some racing, hand out some flyers, and just have a good time. So we're going to have some good times coming up in 2017. And then now we have some other stuff we're going to go into, but not right now. There was kind of talk about keeping Motorsports Radio going throughout the postseason. Obviously, we have no racing to talk about, but there's usually some racing news, and I don't know if I really want to do it full all year round because it might be a little overkill after the racing's over. But now I see that NASCAR America and Race Hub, they're on during the off season, so now we got competition. So I don't know how we're going to do it just yet, but for right now, we're going to run definitely through the end of the season, and then we'll see what happens after that. So thank you for tuning in. This is Manny Allegretto, Motorsports Radio, available at Long Island's Community Radio, communityradioli.com, and click on the Motorsports Radio button.